Welcome. We're back. I know it's a little late tonight, but here we are. We, just to jump right into it, are going to talk safety. How you can do things better. How you can be a little more safe. Haven't talked about it in a while. And some questions have been coming up, and I've seen some questionable stuff lately. So that's what we're talking about tonight. I've got some props, places. Where did I put? I might have to step off screen for a minute and grab some more of my props that I thought I had right here. I'll have to find what I did with them. But I got props. I got stuff to show you, all kinds of stuff. We are live tonight on the Facebook and the YouTube. So if you would prefer to watch on one or the other, go right ahead. Yeah, I didn't say this until late on the last show, but over at the Front Wheel Drive shop, we do have our large bore bump stops back in stock. Only they're new and improved. We've changed them up. So instead of having 20, 30, 40, 50s, we now have soft, medium, and hard. They all kind of max out the same, but it's just some of them take longer. The soft ones take longer to get there. The hard ones get there pretty quick. We also have 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2 inch in length for those. We are running a special if you are a subscriber for them. So it is worth subscribing on Facebook. If you are going to buy a single bump stop, it's still worth becoming a subscriber. I'm just going to say that, especially if you're going to want to buy multiple. So they do have a larger center bore. It's a 22 millimeter hole. It's designed specifically for the Neons, Cavaliers, things like that. The McPherson strut with a larger strut bore. So plenty of them out in the wild. Collected a few wins already on the new and improved design. So if you're looking for some, Front Wheel Drive shop, we do have a bunch of other stuff, but I had to get that out early. So tonight we're going to cover some basics, some roll cage construction, why certain elements should be in your roll cage, and then we're going to talk seatbelts. We're going to talk seatbelts kind of heavy because seatbelts is the easiest thing to do right and the thing most commonly done wrong. I want to preface this by saying you guys should be in a head and neck system. You should be should be sitting in a containment seat. You should be wearing gloves. You should be wearing fire resistant gear, top to bottom. Okay. Shoes, pants, shirt, one-piece suit, helmet, skirt, or balaclava, something. Okay. These are all very basic things. They might be a little bit more expensive. They might not, depending on how you buy them, where you buy them, but they are things you should have. If you want to try to have a discussion with me on a containment seat or a head and neck device, that's fine, but you should probably have a better argument than I don't like it. So I'm just throwing that one out there. I personally, a head and neck is the reason that my dad is still here and walking around after a vicious hit. And it was the first race he actually wore his head and neck. So personal experience with that, just throwing that out there. We're not going to harp on those too heavy tonight, the seats and the head and neck, but I had to say it, had to throw it out there. So what's up, Brad Robinson? Ryan sent me something there, but I can't see it. I should open this up on this side here just so that I can actually see some of this stuff. Forget to always do that. There we go. Ryan sent 200 stars. Thank you for those, my friend. They are always appreciated, never mandatory. The only thing I ask is if you were watching, hit the like button, okay? All right. We're going to talk seatbelt mounting. We're going to start out with seatbelt mounting. Seatbelts, seatbelt mounting, okay? I think they all have to tie kerosene right around the ankle so the ants don't crawl up the leg. Dale Sr., yeah. Dale Sr. made some safety mistakes from time to time, Travis. So, hey, thanks for tuning in, Travis. I definitely watched the last video of the old 6-liter on the run stand, by the way. So you and I are going to talk. I'm going to text you soon because I got some plans that might involve you, some ideas that might involve you, Travis. So, yeah. What's up, Paul? What's up, Doug? Brian, the containment seat is the most used scam, for sale item in the secondhand market. Yes. Yes. John, don't worry about it, my guy. Don't worry about it at all, my friend. You had more important things. Yeah, guys and gals, that is one thing. If you are on Facebook and you see a post where they have multiple head and neck, multiple helmet, multiple seats, and magically they are always the size you need, they don't have a location posted, or they just say Texas. Ask them their physical location, and you'll probably get blocked. I do it all the time. Everything's going to be message me. Okay. That is that's the biggest way that these guys and gals are scamming you out of your money. The helmet's going to be too good to be true. Head neck's going to be too good to be true. If somebody won't let you pay through PayPal, goods and services, especially if you offer to cover the fees, don't buy it. Okay. It's the only way you have any protection at all. Seats, all that kind of stuff. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Okay. So I'm gonna do a video about all those scams at some point, but yeah. All right. Your seat belts need to be mounted properly so that you guys can avoid something that looks like this. This is a picture I posted a couple years ago. This is a street stock, so if it looks like a funny front wheel drive, but it is the best example I have as to why you should mount your belts properly for one of the specific reasons. If you look, that is a standard Kirky 10-degree layback seat. And you'll notice the very top of it is pointed very far forward. It was not like that when he started the race. It was like that when he ended the race against the wall. The reason that happened was because of improperly mounted seatbelts. Okay. I'm going to let you guys stare at that picture because this part I actually need props for. Oh, no, I have them right here. Never mind. I don't have to go off screen. Okay. What this picture is showing you guys and gals is the angle of pull. Okay. And that's what's wrong here. Now, we're kind of stepping sideways here. I want to show you guys something. I have, and I'm going to pull these up. I've only opened 3, but it should give you a fairly decent idea. Okay. This is from Simpson Race Products. Okay. Let me make sure this is working right. Yep. This is, you can go to jegs.com. This is where I found this one. This is Simpson. I want to point out that this has your upper torso belt mounting zone, your lap belt anchor zone. Okay. And there's a 10-degree zones there. Okay. And if you scroll down here, you'll see that they show shoulder belt top mount views. This is the way they should be done with different locations. We're going to get into this part here in just a minute, but the main thing I wanted to show you guys was this view right here. This is from Simpson Race Products. This is Crow. Okay. Notice mounting shoulder 0 to 10 degrees below shoulder, 60 to 45 here on the ground, mounting angle. Okay. These instructions are much simpler, but they have some good pictures too. And we're going to talk about some of the rest of the stuff, but notice the angles. Notice they're the same thing. Okay. This is from Impact by Mastercraft Safety. And I want to show you guys, I'm going to even zoom in on this one just to get a little closer here. Okay. Oh, right here. Notice this shows an angle off the shoulder and an angle off the lap. Those 3 companies are competitors. Simpson is a competitor of Crow and a competitor of Impact, and vice versa. And all 3 of them say the exact same thing that we are just about to talk about. Okay. All 3 of them. If you go to any belt manufacturer, if you go look at their installation instructions, they all have the same angles. This is not something I made up. This is not just some old wives' tale. This isn't some my racing buddy said, this is what every single seatbelt manufacturer says to do. And if there was a better way to do it, and one of those companies had a better way to do it, they would not only tell you that way, they would advertise it everywhere because they would sell more belts. Okay. Every single belt manufacturer agrees on this. The reason, we're going to go back to this picture. Okay. We're going to go back to this one just for a second. The reason that that seat is bent forward is because the angle of the belts from the shoulder down to this bar down here that they're wrapped around. Ooh, I can zoom in. Okay. It'll let me zoom in here. We'll go up a little bit. Okay. Notice how the seat way up, the belts are way down. That's like a 60-degree angle, 50-degree angle. Once that seat was bent back in place, it was probably closer to 70 degrees. Okay. What happened here is that the belt, this is the seat, this is the shoulder. Okay. The belts came here and then went down here and wrapped around that bar. So the angle from the shoulder down to the bar was nowhere even close to the acceptable range. If you see a picture of a seat bent forward in this manner, I'll actually switch this so you guys can see my picture that I just drew. Okay. If you see a seat that is bent forward like that, this is the reason. These seats don't weigh enough that in the event of an accident, a hit, that the seat itself will bend. Something had to act upon it. These flimsy Kirky seats, and look, I got one right here. Okay. Got one right here. If you have them mounted here, they are not strong enough in any capacity in this region to stop from bending. Okay. That seat is going to pivot from right here, and that belt, as your body, that belt wraps around here, as your body goes forward, it's going to try to just lay this angle down. That belt is going to go with your body, and it's just going to take the seat with it. You'll eventually hit a point where the seat's bent enough and everything catches, but it's going to be significantly farther forward than you started, which could be the difference between you eating the steering wheel in your chest and you just climbing out of the car with nothing wrong. Okay. Your seatbelt needs to come over the top of your shoulder. And it needs to go straight back. It can go up 10 degrees or down 10 degrees. It needs to be in that range. There are so many times that I see guys with their seatbelts coming down here that the addition of 10 to 20 inches of pipe in their roll cage would solve this issue. You don't even have to attach them here. You have to have a pivot point, a solid pivot point. So if you want to keep your attachment down here, you can simply, this is the easiest part. This is the part you guys just need to be able to weld a tube in. If you have a tube on your cage, say this is the pillar of your cage here, okay? You can come back here and you can just weld a tube at the proper height and then go from there down here. So it'll wrap across and it'll come back down to there. And so many guys and gals, all it would take is one extra piece of tubing. 10, 15, 20 inches of tubing, and it would be problem solved. When most people mount seatbelts, a lot of people, it is a complete afterthought. The car is done. You're getting ready to go to the track that day, the next day, and you go, oh, crap, where do we put the seatbelts? If you are building a car, this should be in your mind as you are building the cage and as you are building the seat, because one extra bar could just literally be the difference of mounting them properly. It can be so simple to fix that issue, okay? No, Joe, I have not looked into the pour-in seat insert yet. I mean, we could talk about them. Like, I know about them. But yeah. Now, I have a demonstration with a paint stirring stick that can help visualize this even a little bit better, okay? This is a shoulder belt. It's a race quip. This is actually the set of belts that will be going in my car here when I get it finished, okay? If I have, you just have to pretend that this is my aluminum Kirky seat, okay? You're gonna have to pretend that there's more on top of it too. I'm sure you guys can do that with me, okay? If I have my seat here and I have my belt mounted down here, so we have that angle, okay? If I pull forward here with my shoulders and I'm mounted securely down here, pretty easy to bend, pretty easy to break, okay? Really easy to bend, really easy to break. Because your seat is not meant to be used as a pivot point, okay? Now, for comparison's sake, if you have the same seat and you have the angle correct, doesn't break, doesn't bend. Because you're actually pulling over the top of the seat, you're not pulling on the seat. You'll notice how far, yeah, I brought a few of these, okay? My hands are touching. If I go straight out, I shouldn't go very far at all. But I can go all that distance because the belt just folds down and adds all that extra distance, okay? If you're gonna run, even a containment seat should not be used as a pivot point. You should have a bar of some kind, preferably round because it's the smoothest, okay? You might just have to add one bar in, okay? So glad I'm here. Thanks for being here, Ryan. If I can help one person tonight, everything will be worth it, okay? Joe, I would, but I wouldn't. But I'd appreciate some pictures, man. We can talk about it. So Troy Wonder says, what about belt stretch? Okay, let's factor that in here. Seat belts, the purpose of this seat belt, when you get into an accident, have it over you. The purpose of this belt, you might think, is to hold you in place, to stop you. And that is half of the reason. What this belt is actually doing is slowing down the amount of time that it takes for you to go from 100 to 0. In the event of an accident and you hit the wall and you've got 100-mile-an-hour worth of energy all being forced into there, you're traveling at 100. Something is going to stop at some point on that car, and your body's going to want to continue to go forward. Newton's whatever law, object in motion stays in motion, okay? Your seatbelt is going to stop you from doing that, but it's going to do it by stretching and slowing you down. I could look up the actual formula, but it's easy to see. Force is distance over time, right? Something to that effect. We're talking milliseconds. But if you can take 5 milliseconds and double that to 10 milliseconds, you reduce the force by 4 times that's put into your body, okay? It's not linear. The longer it takes you to slow down, the better you are. Now, that's your belt stretching a predetermined amount. If your belts have to move the seat 8 inches before your belts start to stretch, they're not going to help you that much, okay? I don't know the exact amount, but your belts do stretch. So the other part of this is, in this instance, all of this here is going to add stretch because your belts stretch per inch, okay? And I know I could look up the numbers. I could get the numbers for this. But that belt, if you have 10 extra inches from here to here, you're going to add 10 inches of stretch into that. So you're better to attach right here, your belt. But if you have to go down here, that's still better than coming up to here, okay? You want to keep the excess belt as short as possible. And yes, you want to extend the time. And if you think it through, in my head, it always made sense. If I had 10 extra inches of stretch, that would slow it down that much more. The issue is that when you add all of that together, the little bit of stretch and then a lot of stretch, like it's easy to kind of pull it a little bit, and then it gets harder and harder. You add all that extra softness in, and it just lets you get farther away before you catch. Okay. You want to keep your belts as short as possible. And I want to refer you guys again. Okay. Like I said, every single belt manufacturer shows this. They're showing you here the angles. Okay. Right here. The optimal location for the shoulder belt ankle is level with the shoulder line. Ankle belts, anchor shoulder belts a maximum of 5 degrees below and 5 degrees above the shoulder line. So they actually give you a 10-degree window, 5 each way. Okay. When installing shoulder belts in conjunction with a head and neck restraint system, the anchor point for the shoulder belt must be in accordance with the head and neck restraint system manufacturer's recommendations. Okay. It's so much of this can be right in your instruction sheet. Okay. Impacts are actually a pretty simple instruction sheet here, right? This is the next thing we're going to talk about, is this over here, these two things, okay? But, oh, you know what? I'm sitting here talking about it, and I didn't actually put it up here. Sorry about that, guys. So, over here, they show you the angles. Impact doesn't actually look like it doesn't look like they talk about the length. A lot of them don't. Okay. A simple common sense inspection indicating a system doesn't look right means it probably is not, right? Now, that belt stretch that we just talked about, okay? The other part of that is that if you do get into a hard wreck, you're going to want to replace your belts because they've stretched. They're already pre-stressed. If you get into a decent wreck, get a new set of belts, okay? If you can't afford a new set of high dollar Impact or Simpson or something, RaceQuip, RJS, there are some cheaper belts out there that are still SFI certified. They're going to do what they need to. Throw in a cheaper set of belts if you need to. Okay. Now, the next thing, I want to do this one real quick. You guys should also try to take care to avoid leaving your seatbelts out in the sun as much as possible. So this is a belt. You guys can see how bright pink part of this is and how white other part of it is. This belt has been sitting crumpled up inside of this seat outside for quite a while because these are out of date. These were out of date in 2009. But even here, pink on that side, white on that side, okay? That's what the sun does to these belts. It fades them and it degrades your webbing. That's why they recommend every 2 years, is because the webbing used in SFI belts degrades a lot quicker, okay? You should also try to avoid getting your belts wet. Wet belts will stretch more than dry belts will. So if you do get them wet, try to have them dry thoroughly before you go out and race with them again, okay? Now, what Marvin brought up, the triple wrap. This is the thing that we're going to talk mounting after we talk about the triple wrap, okay? This is one of those things that, every single belt manufacturer, not this one, not that belt, agrees with. They all say the same thing. And here, we'll throw this one up here, okay? You see how this one has on the side over here, how to thread the webbing through? The Crow Enterprises, if we scroll down, actually we got to share this tab instead. If we scroll down, we see right here the proper way to put the webbing in. If we go over here, share this tab, to the Simpson. If we scroll down, they show you the proper way to web it. All of them agree. All of them agree. Again, that triple wrapping is the best way to go. What do I mean by triple wrap? Okay. These are kind of hard to see because I have black hardware on a black belt. So I can't really, it's really hard to see this. Okay. Actually, let me see if these pink ones, because it has a Y. Nope. Nope. These actually don't have the right adjuster. So, okay. So I'm going to put the picture up here, and then I'm going to pull it down to show you a little bit what I'm talking about. This is actually the easiest one to show real quick. Triple wrapping your belts. Come on. Triple wrapping your belts is the quickest, easiest way to do this, okay? These pictures here are showing how you're going to go into the loop. You're going to go through your mounting point. You're going to come back through a second time. So you've got 2 layers in there. You're going to come over the top. So I need to put this back in here just a moment. There we go. You're going to come back over the top and in. So if you look at this picture right here, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to draw this for you so it shows up a little bit better. Actually, I can zoom in on this. And then I got to move it sideways and down. This likes to be better than me drawing it, okay? You'll notice how above the top of the center there is 3 layers, okay? That's what triple wrapping your belts means. If your webbing that comes out the end of your seatbelt is pointed at your latch mechanism, it's wrong. If you can see both sides of your adjuster, it's wrong. You should not be able to see both sides because that webbing should go up over the top and back through again, okay? This is the thing that I see the most, and I mean the most. I can't tell you how many times if you guys post a picture of your car, if it's for sale, if it's not for sale, if you post a video of it, I see the belts. I look at the belts. I instinctively look at the belts. If I go to the racetrack, I'm looking at the adjusters of everybody's car. I have talked to late model guys that did not know that you were supposed to triple wrap your stuff, and they've been racing for 10, 15, 20 years. I've talked to guys that have been racing for that long in multiple different classes that did not know you were supposed to triple wrap your belts. If you have your adjuster, okay, and you have a slot here, and you have a slot here, okay, if you can see, if your belt's covering this area, but you can see that, and you can see that, it's wrong. If we look at this from the side, this is the center bar. This is the outside edge. This is the outside edge. If you take your belt, come through, up, over, out, and then this is your mounting point. You run it back in, up, over, and down. You'll notice we can see the top of this one. We can see the top of this one. We can't see our center bar. We have, this is going to our clasp, and the webbing is pointed at the clasp. This is only double wrapped. You only have 2 layers above the center bar. You simply have to take what's left, go over the top of both of those, go under here again, and out. The end of your webbing should point towards the anchor point. And I know that some of you are going to go, I've raced for 50 years and it's never been a problem. That's how I've always done it. And blah. The reason that you need to do this is because if you only have 2 layers, your belts can pull around this and pull that belt right back out the end of that adjuster. You ain't going to get any belt stretch if they're not attached to anything, okay? I don't know if this will actually work. I did this one time and it actually pulled itself out, which was super handy. I don't know if it'll actually be able to do it here. Probably not. But if I pull, there we go. If I'm holding the adjuster and I just pull, I was able to pull that out of the adjuster. You can see kind of against the shadow, there's my adjuster. There's the mounting point, okay? And we'll do this again. I'm going to put it in here. So I've ran it under, over, under, through my mount. Under, over, and under, okay? So webbing is pointed back towards my clasp. Now, I am holding the adjuster just to make this a little bit easier. But the point still remains that this belt being held here, if I just give a little bit less tension, we'll pull it right out the end, okay? That bottom hasn't changed. We're going under, over, under again. And then you simply take that there and you go back through. Okay. Now, I can grab from the adjuster and I'll even grab the whole thing, and I cannot pull that apart. It doesn't matter what I do with the adjuster, I cannot pull that apart because that has locked that belt into that adjuster. And again, I don't know if the effort actually shows, but we're trying. Okay. If I simply untuck that flap, so we're double wrapped again, it'll pull right out. That's why you need to triple wrap your belts. If you are going to mount them terribly and just half-ass them into your car, the very most minimum you can do is just take that and just stuff it back in the other side. It's that easy. It's 10 seconds an adjuster. Then at least if your mount holds, your belt should too, okay? Triple wrapping belts is the easiest thing you can do because it's just sticking the end back through. Doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to re-weld anything. You don't have to drill anything. You don't have to move anything. You just simply have to put the webbing through to the other side. Now I'm going to see if this will show. Probably won't. I get behind the camera so I can see it here. You can see how you can only see one side of the metal adjuster. You cannot see the other, okay? And if you look here, now we can see both sides of the adjuster, okay? You can just go over the top. And stick it back through. Now you can only see one. This is what it should look like. Every single belt manufacturer agrees that that's how it should be done. All right, camera, focus up on me here. I'm gonna need you to refocus on me, camera. Come on, come on. One of these days, I'm gonna be worth a lot of money and I'm gonna have a good camera. Today's not that day, but maybe soon. Here, we'll try it. Force it to, maybe. How's this coming across over here? I mean, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. All right, we're going to try to force it to zoom. This is how you know we're live, folks. There we go. All right, now we rush in so it doesn't reset. Better? Better! Okay. Your tracks, check for proper belts. All right, guys and gals. Let's talk about racetracks, belt mounting, proper belts. I have raced at very many tracks. I have won at close to 8 or 10 different tracks. Won races, not just race, but won even. Done really well. I've been to a lot more than that. I've raced with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Combined, a total of 6 traveling series. I have had my belts checked for proper mounting, I think 5 total times. Maybe 6 total. I've been racing since 2007. If I get on the track this year, this will be my 16th season. 15th, 16th, a long time. 07 to 23. And I've had less than 10 times I have had a track check to see if my belts were wrapped properly or mounted properly. The number one thing that I have heard is that if a track inspects your belts and tells you that they're okay, that they become liable if you get hurt. So they don't. I hear that so often. Well, my local track said it's okay. Such and such said it was okay. This track said it's okay. It's obviously safe. No, it isn't. I have seen one car turned away for a cage, and it was one of the worst cages I've ever seen. I would have rather drove the car with a factory seat, factory airbags than the monstrosity of a cage they put in that car. One time have I seen somebody turned away because the car was unsafe. Racetracks, they either do not possess the knowledge of how your belts should be done, or they don't want the liability of it, or they just assume you know what you're doing. I know a lot of track promoters, a lot of track owners. Most of them are really nice people. I don't know why they don't look for this. I don't know why this isn't important to them. I don't have to get insurance for a racetrack, so maybe that's part of it. I don't understand that part of it, but not wanting to be held liable by telling someone this is unsafe is, in my opinion, a total cop-out. So you cannot assume that the track is going to know that you are safe, and you should not assume that if they pass you for safety, that you are safe. Okay? Your seatbelt mounting stuff is so easy to find the proper way to do it because every belt manufacturer tells you how to do it, and they all tell you the same thing. Okay? It doesn't matter if you have a Y strap, dual shoulder straps, if you have like these race quips where you go from 3-inch to 2-inch for a head and neck. These are actually a set of ratcheting belts. So this is actually the mechanism to tighten them, is this ratchet, which is my absolute favorite thing. This is why I have these, is because the ratchet belts are just, they can get you so much tighter, so much better. Yeah, ratchet's the only way to go for me, okay? For those of you that don't know what a ratchet belt is, this mechanism right here bolts in place where, I don't have the other, I don't know where the other lap belt went, but where the anchor point is, okay, where this tab is, it actually has this mechanism here. And these race quips, they actually go so far as to give you extra set screws, and they actually give you a ratchet. So it's a little quarter drive ratchet, and you might think to yourself, that's not a lot, Todd. It isn't, and it's plenty, okay? But you bolt this in where you would bolt in that anchor. Then once you're strapped in, so it's wrapped up around there now, it literally tightens this against you. And it does not come undone because there's literal cams here. I have to actually unlock it for it to be able to loosen up. Okay. I always thought these were neat, and then I finally got a pair of them, and holy crap. I will tell you guys, ratchet belts, if you have the choice, this is a great way to go. These race quips are really affordable. I do not remember the exact price. I got these from Union City Speed Shop. Go hit up John down in Union City. If you're close here in Michigan, you need a set. But these are from Race Quip. They don't offer colors. You basically get 3-inch shoulder straps or 2-inch shoulder straps, and that's your options. Crow offers you, which my last set was Crow. We'll actually come back over here to their website. I'll show you guys. Share this tab instead, okay? But if you go to Crow Safety Gear, crank it. This is their ratchet lap belt system, okay? Crows are $232.60 for this set. You can send them back, get them recertified, all of that, okay? They have a few more options there at Crow. This set's only available in black. These are like the sprint car ones. But if you come down here, Pro Series, yeah, this should have different color. Yeah, you can get them in black, blue, gray, purple, or red. Okay, these are a little more expensive. These are $280. I would have to find out. I don't know exactly why. Okay, but I had Crows before. I really liked them. I've got these race quips now. This is what this is what I'm going to be running when we get the car done. Ratchet belts. Oh my. Okay, so I didn't actually show those. My bad. There's Crow. You can go on Crow's website. Ratchet belts. Okay. I'm not used to sharing like this, but same mounts in the same place. Okay. They're just, you've never been able to drive a race car as good as when you're locked into the seat like you are with these. Okay. Every manufacturer tells you how to mount them. It's all the same. The instructions are all there. Okay. One new thing that's that's recent is how you actually mount your belts is using a double shear tab instead of a single shear tab. And I know some of you are going to be like, what do you mean? Okay. Impact actually has a really good picture of this. Okay. And this actually goes to a couple of things. Hold on, this is kind of like a 2-for-1. I wonder if we can actually, can I get rid of this over here? I want to get rid of that over there. How do I don't know how to do that. Anyways, right here, add this to the stream. Okay. So this picture is actually showing double shear and mounting in the direction of pull. Okay. What is meant by those? Let me show you guys a picture real quick. Okay. So we talked about how not using your seat as a pivot point. That's direction of pull is what we're going for. Okay. If you have your tab, got your hole, got your slot. Okay. You want to make sure that your belt is mounted in the direction of the pull. So if we have our tab, this is our tab, this is where the bolt goes through it, okay? Your belt wraps around it here, right? You want to make sure that it's pulling in this direction against the bolt. If you have this bolted down and you have that belt pulling in this direction, what's going to happen is that this tab is going to bend itself right about this point, aim up here, and get pulled with the belt. If you're lucky, you're only going to gain 2 or 3 inches of travel. If you're not, that bolt, that is going to snap off where it bent, and that belt won't be attached anymore. Okay? So that is what, we're going to stream this again, put this back up here. Okay? You see the one on the right that's circled red that says incorrect. You'll notice that the arrow is pointing up at the belts and the arrow is pointing sideways with the tab. That tab is not going to be pulled in the proper direction. The one on the left has the tab and the belts pulling in the same plane. Okay. Now, the one on the left is also showing a double shear tab. Okay. We'll do some pictures to describe this one as well. So double shear and single shear just describes how something is bolted together and how it's supported. If we have a bolt here, okay, I drew that at an angle and I'm going to try to fix that. So if this is our bolt, okay, here's our bolt head, here's our nut, right? If we have, and so we're going to say that we have this tab right here is welded into the car, and this tab right here, okay, is going up to our seat belt, okay? If you only have one side supported, and we're going to pretend that nut is tight against it, this is squeezing it tight, okay? This is what's known as single shear, because that tab and that tab, as it pulls, it only has one part that it has to shear. That side of the bolt right there. This is single shear, okay? If you do this, everybody just tightens that right down until they're clamped tight, bolts nice and tight, okay? The reason that can be a problem is that if this is where your seatbelt is mounted and it's coming up here to your hip, let's say this is you in the car, okay, with your hip. If you get into a wreck, you are going to slide forward, and your belt is going to do the same. It's going to change the angle that it's at, okay? It's physics. You can't stop that from happening. It's just as you get pulled forward. If you have that bolted tight, so you have your adjuster here, or your mounting tab, okay? If you have this bolted tight and you've got your proper 45-degree angle and all of that, your belt rests against the whole width of that, the whole length of it. But if we change the angle and you start moving forward, if your tab doesn't move, your belts are now going to try to be pulling at a different angle. What happens is this side is going to go slack and this side is going to be tight against that adjuster. So instead of having the 2 or 3 inches of width, we are now down to an edge. This stands a greater chance of actually ripping the belt because it's on this small point of contact instead of a wide point of contact. The area of load of that force is very narrow, okay? So the easy way to fix that is to just add a second tab right here. So now it would have to shear both sides of that bolt, double shear, and then leave that bolt a little bit loose. Put a nylock on it, weld it, Loctite it, whatever you got to do, so that this tab has the freedom to move, okay? So that when this happens, this whole tab can move to change direction, okay? Usually this is as easy as taking a second tab and just welding it right next to the first one, okay? Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult. Trying to think if we have... I don't see any that are easily accessible, but they sell a double shear tab. You can buy a double shear tab. Whoop. You can make one very easy, but you can also buy one which mounts even easier because it just has a bottom on it and comes back up the other side. So you can weld this part on top of the bar and you've got both your tabs already done. Spacing's good, holes all lined up. You don't have to worry about bolting it together. It's where it needs to be. So you can buy a double shear tab, makes it really super easy. My cars have double shear tabs just because it's easy to buy them. So that's what we do, okay? Double shear tabs, proper angles, and it all moves together. So, you guys all just stop talking to me? Every time you guys do that, it freaks me out that stuff stopped working. So, the other thing is to not mount your belts to the floor. Okay? Mount them to your cage. Your seat and your belts should be mounted to your cage. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the accidents lately. There was one at Kalamazoo. There was one at a South Bend Enduro earlier, where the cars fold up. The cages are dropping. They're moving inside where they're welded, and the floors are moving. If your seat and your cage can move separately, if your top half's mounted into the cage and the bottom half's mounted into the floor, if they move separately, that thin aluminum seat you got, even if it's a containment seat, which is a little thicker typically, it's still not going to stay in the same shape. It is going to bend, it's going to twist. So mount them to the cage. If you go, Todd, do you know how hard it is to do that? I do. I really do. I've installed probably over a dozen seats, mounts, belts at this point, okay? But it's possible. It's possible to do. You're just going to have to work a little bit harder for it. One other thing, guys and gals, if your seat goes like this, and your main halo bar goes here, and you have your little tab there, and your belts go through your seat and back here like that, that's not proper. You're using your seat as a pivot point, that thin piece across there, there's a good chance that it could rip your belt. Okay. Oh, the last thing that I definitely wanted to talk about, I remember what it was, is the proper way to mount them. Can you wrap it around a roll bar? Should you bolt it in with the adjusters? How do you do it? Both are acceptable. I personally like wrapping around a bar. I believe it is a little bit better. I've talked to some guys and gals that do seatbelts. They kind of agree for the same reason. It increases surface area. If you have your roll bar tubing, your seatbelt comes in, you have your adjuster, which is your middle, your outside. So go through your adjuster, comes around, back through your adjuster, okay? When you get into an accident, you have from here to here, actually it's probably closer to there, where that belt is gonna be touching that whole way, and it can spread the load out that entire tube, okay? If you have your just standard mount, your tab, okay, your belt's gonna come in, it's gonna go through and right back, and it has a much smaller surface area. Now, obviously, that's what they ship with, right? It's what they ship with. So it's obviously safe, okay? This is what the belt manufacturers send you. It is safe. I personally like going around the bar. Also, a lot of times we go back to, you have your seat, got your roll cage. You know, if you're mounting your belts here, you're coming through and down. A lot of times, if you add a bar right there, you can come off your shoulders and you can just wrap it and then go back forward. Like, you can do that often. That's this car. I'd move the camera, but it'd screw up. I'd show you the car that's right here. Okay. That's how it works. That's how I have it set up. I just got lucky that I was able to add a crossbar that I'm coming off from for the seat mount. That is the proper height, comes off my shoulders, goes back, and I just wrap it around the bar. It's about probably 8 to 10 inches off my shoulders, from the back of my shoulder, right here to the bar. So it's a pretty short area, really easy to do. So that's how I mount it. I've done it where we come off the bar here and down to another bar and wrap it under here, because we didn't have the room right there for whatever reason, or the seat was too close where the adjuster would be like right here. Because there is just a minimum, if you go around that tubing, a minimum distance that you need. Sometimes it's too close to the driver, so we have to give it just a little bit more room. But wrapping the bars, totally, absolutely, 100% an acceptable way to go. The tab is also an acceptable way to go. So, is there any questions? Seat belts, safety stuff that you guys would like me to answer tonight? There's also machine spacers that go in double shear tabs and fit the seatbelt tab and basically ensures movement of the belts and the ability to tighten the mounting bolts. That makes sense. I would almost wonder, Joe, does it use like a smaller bolt? Because I would imagine, because it's all machined for 1/2-inch holes. You know, the mounts are a 1/2-inch hole. This is a 1/2-inch hole. But I bet that you could do that where you had, as it went through, it would use a 3/8 bolt, and then had the spacers that would like touch each other and just allow you to have that freedom to go. Is it something like that? You should send me a link to that. I'm not in any way calling you a liar. I'm just very curious on how they do that. So, yeah. Yep. Okay. That is the other thing to remember, guys and gals. When you're mounting your seat, the seat manufacturers, first off, look at the instructions for mounting your seats as well. They flat out say a 3/8 grade 5, grade 8 bolt is enough. If you are just using one of these cheap 10, 20-degree layback Kirkeys, 3/8 bolts are plenty fine in them, because they're not going to hold you at all anyway. You get into a wreck that makes that seat try to go in any direction, you're going to bend the seat before you'll bend the bolts or break the bolts or anything like that. So, containment seat, where it's actually holding you and your shoulders are going to push against the seat and the seat's not going to give. Yeah. You want to make sure you use whatever the manufacturer tells you to use. So, we did a whole show on that. That's a little bit a while ago, about the strength of fasteners, 1/2-inch, 3/8, quarter drive, all that kind of stuff. The shear strength, tensile strength, stuff like that. Because I I think 3/8 bolts in here. And that was one where I showed that and somebody tried to call me out on it. I'm like, no, it's proper. It's okay. And I talked all about it. So, yeah. Yeah. Hopefully this helps somebody. Hit the like button for me. It's the only thing I ask. Please check your seatbelts. Check your buddy's seatbelts too. Okay. If you got somebody that doesn't watch the show, doesn't know what they're doing, knows what they're doing, might not know this, check out their seatbelts. Okay. Check out their seat mount. This is not something. It's not something that it should be something that's a hit to your ego if you're not doing it right. You just haven't been given the proper information yet. Okay. I have went to races and I've talked to people I've never met before who didn't know me. They don't know the show. They don't know any of that. And their first defense is usually, now mind you, I don't always have the best tact where I'm like, hey man, can I show you something like quick, you know? Usually if we can actually have a conversation, it definitely comes across more that I care and not, haha, you're dumb, do it how I say. Because I got very lucky that when I started racing, the guy that I had helping, one of the few things that he did that was a positive is he knew about triple wrapping your belts. And so from day one, I've triple wrapped my belts. It's not something that I had to learn the hard way. I haven't had anybody around me learn the hard way. I actually had a good, somebody who gave me good advice to start with. Okay. But once you realize that you shouldn't see both sides of the adjuster, you know, these ones that are a black adjuster on black belts, it's hard to see, but most of them are just silver. So it's really easy to see 2 bars versus just one. If you're around your buddies and they have both bars showing, if they're only double wrapped, listen, if the belts aren't to the proper places, if they're too long and the angles are wrong, at least have them triple wrap them. Okay. You stand a lot better chance of having the wrong angle, but having it triple wrapped than having the wrong angle and only double wrapped. Okay. Seatbelt mounting is important. It really is. Seat belts are the only piece of safety equipment that are going to stop you in the event of a frontal collision. You can wear a head and neck, you can wear a fancy helmet, you can wear all your fancy gloves, your suits, everything. You can have the best containment seat. If you hit a wall head on, the only piece of safety equipment that truly actually matters is your seatbelt, because your head and neck doesn't work without seatbelts. Well, the Simpson Hybrid, yeah, but if your torso doesn't stop, your head won't stop. Okay. That's where the Simpson Hybrid, where you can use it with a 3-point belt, is because your torso stops and the webbing and everything can stop your head from going. If your torso doesn't stop, it doesn't matter what head and neck you're wearing, you're going forward. There was a driver who was killed not that long ago because something in the belt system failed and they kept going when the car stopped. Okay. Seatbelts are the easiest thing to do right if they're not the last thing you think about. So, well, it looks like we don't have any more questions, so I must have covered most everything tonight. I know it was late. I apologize for that. Thank you all for tuning in on YouTube. It is appreciated. We are trying to get some stuff up over there. I have been in a weird place just mentally with me not racing. I literally have not turned a lap yet this year. This car that was supposed to be done last February, yeah, we're a little bit away from being able to race it. And my old one's tore apart to put parts in here. So I've been to the races a couple times. I've not physically turned a lap yet. It's hard on me this year, along with some other stuff. And we haven't put the effort into this as much. I'm trying. I'm really trying. But we've got some really neat stuff coming up. I've got some stuff I'm planning out, some videos that we're going to film. Yeah, we're really going to try to kick off August, September, November. We're going to try to hit really, really hard to get some good quality content out to you guys. So, yeah, I'm going to go live in the subscriber group for a couple minutes. Subscribers on Facebook, I don't have them on YouTube. We are going to go live in the subscriber group just for a couple minutes tonight because we will be going live in the subscribers for a subscriber-only video chat tomorrow. So it won't be here. So if you want to see it, you're going to have to become a subscriber. We're working on building that back up to make it worthwhile too. So thank you all for being here tonight. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't already. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Thursday.